Hello and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail and I'm a writer and film fan from California. You can consider this week's episode my Halloween special as I'm sharing one of my spooky favorites with you. It continues the John Carpenter series with his 1987 effort, Prince of Darkness. The film is John Carpenter's return to independent filmmaking and horror after the excellent science fiction love story Starman and the big-budget action comedy Big Trouble in Little China. I wouldn't say it's as scary as people find Halloween or The Thing, but there's a special place in my film library for this movie thanks to its creativity. And I can't wait to share all the fun stuff it does with you. Before we start, a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that, so any criticisms are meant to be constructive. This review will contain spoilers. I'll do my best to call them out for you before they come up. Okay, let's get into the movie. Prince of Darkness, 1987 review. John Carpenter pits God against anti-God. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness is a horror film in which a liquid form of the church lady's classic nemesis, Satan, drips toward a nasty return to Earth. And it's a film that suffers from forgotten middle child syndrome. It's the second entry in John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, slotting in after The Thing, arguably his most outstanding achievement, and before some Carpenter fans pick for his most underrated effort, In the Mouth of Madness. But when you dig deeper, there's room for optimism here. Carpenter returned to his roots in this film, making Darkness with complete creative control and on a $3 million budget. Low budgets and little interference helped Carpenter on films like Halloween, Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog, and Escape from New York. So no doubt those experiences had him swimming in complex but familiar waters. Prince of Darkness was financially successful, hitting $14.2 million on its $3 million budget. Still, reviews were generally poor. These days I come across many Blue Sky posts or Reddit threads singing Prince of Darkness's praises, but it's not universal love out there. Being a middle child myself, and in the midst of completing Carpenter's filmography, I was curious to see what this movie had to offer. So is Prince of Darkness a good movie? The plot of Prince of Darkness. A Catholic priest discovers an ancient conspiracy known as the Brotherhood of Sleep. And no, this is not the world's strangest mattress store. It's some kind of religious cult. But before the priest can digest whatever that's about, he finds an eerie, swirling container of green liquid in the basement of the Brotherhood of Sleep's former headquarters, a Los Angeles monastery. The priest invites quantum physics professor Howard Bierak and several graduate students, including new lovers Brian Marsh and Catherine Danforth, to investigate the green goop. As the team researches the liquid and the ancient texts within the monastery, it's suggested that there are satanic, apocalyptic implications. Meanwhile, there's an eerie collection of homeless people gathered outside, led by their unofficial street schizo leader. Soon, the research team members begin to go missing, and signs of the apocalypse appear. Can the team uncover the mystery and stop the evil before it's too late? And just to take you through the cast, the Catholic priest is played by Donald Pleasence, Howard Bierak is played by Victor Wong, Brian Marsh by Jameson Parker, and Catherine Danforth by Lisa Blount. And street schizo leader, well, that's none other than rocker himself, Alice Cooper. And you can read the rest of the main cast in the transcript. And if you wanted to see a trailer for Prince of Darkness, you can do that with the link in the transcript at the bottom with the quote, links in this episode section. If you're new to this podcast, I put all the links to any IMDb screen caps I mention or Wikipedia links, etc. down there for you to check out. So let's get into what's good about Prince of Darkness. Let's start with a good kind of dreaded opening, which adds 2 points. The opening scenes are scattered moments that, when you cut them together, let you know evil is on the march. The soundtrack, more on that in a minute, like a ticking clock drips a few doomy warning shots. We see an ominous little box on a dying priest's chest. There's a zoom to angry ants swarming in the grass. Characters notice the sun is strangely obscured in the sky. The credits are barely rolling, but we know, thanks to this visual storytelling, this is trending poorly. And we're intercutting between Professor Bierak's lecture and the priest's movement as he investigates the monastery, foreshadowing the relationship between religion and science. Set apart, none of these scenes would unnerve you. but drawn together, it's a recipe for piloerection. Sit down, perverts. If you don't know it, piloerection is the technical term for the little hairs on your arm standing up. Next, the film has a gift for slowly raising the stakes, which adds 2 points. The story trickles along as the demonic liquid leaks and pools, gradually ratcheting up the tension. Lisa translates a new foreboding passage of the ancient text. Professor Birak and the priest put the religious and scientific implications together. Or the characters gasp as hunks of wriggling worms inexplicably crawl on upstairs windows. And much like Carpenter's The Fog, he has laid down enough moving parts to crash together into a chaotic climax. Like a game of Jenga, everything in this movie is set up to fall. In the final moments, I felt the characters panic as one of them looked at the chaos around them and had to figure out how to stop Armageddon. It's a disturbing journey that pays off in a satisfying climax. And now for the possessed street crawlers, which adds 2 points. Prince of Darkness sounds like a vehicle for Ozzy Osbourne. Still, rocker Alice Cooper is the unofficial leader of a scraggly gang of possessed homeless people. The shaggy motley crew is the Dark Prince's makeshift bodyguards, trapping the researchers inside the building. And the silent and still Doom Patrol is delightfully chilling. More than just an Easter egg, Alice Cooper's cameo is full of malice. After the confused-looking mob shuffles out of the alleyway, the spotlight shifts to Cooper's schizo. He squeezes his hand like he wants to wring your neck. It's just such a captivating little gesture. And now it's Carpenter's scores, which adds 2 points. Carpenter's score is a dreary procession like the plot, as dark early murmurs gather into a concentrated mass of evil. Everything about the opening track tells you evil is coming. There's a thudding bass like the marching of an evil army, and a foreboding refrain like the sound you'd hear every time Satan gets a text message, I'm sure. I can't play it for you here, but it sounds like ding ding ding. It's perfect for a text, right? It's amplified by whirling ambiance, ghastly strings, and bell-like sounds for just a bit or two of hope. The bleak atmosphere builds with the thumping dark heartbeats and mysterious intrigue of the track The Team Assembles, as the professor and grad students arrive at the monastery. And later in the film, when hell breaks loose, the now driving bass and piercing synths plunge us into the whirlpool of evil. And a heads up, if you go on YouTube to John Carpenter's channel or just use the links in the bottom of this transcript, you can listen to these tracks. Now for the movie's fun horror stuff, which adds 3 points. Like finding chocolate chip cookie dough nuggets in your ice cream, Carpenter's filmmaking comes alive in fun tidbits. Nifty effects give us the green liquid essence of Satan dripping upward and pooling on the ceiling. Makeup effects turn one character into a possessed, decaying corpse bride. And there are eerie, distorted dream sequences where the Brotherhood of Sleep sends tachyon transmissions to different characters. Each dream reveals a little more of the Doomsday mystery. The distorted visuals keep the film entertaining and dangle an eerie plot piece that won't be revealed until the film's end. Next, it's Liquid Satan, adding 2 points. Unlike horror prophecy films that might use an altar or a demonic portal to bring back a dark lord, this movie makes Satan's son into bacteria. It's a unique approach to the apocalypse. The green goo container looks like an ancient washing machine that's thrown a few thousand years of mold. And it's a slime with horrific properties, alright. But unlike the slime of Ghostbusters 2 that will prey on your emotions, or the slime of the 1980s The Blob remake that will swallow you whole, this brand of goop is out to infect you into doing the devil's bidding. Hell, devil's bidding wouldn't be a bad name for the drink if they ever thought of bottling and selling the green stuff. And now quantum physics meets religious conspiracy, which adds 2 points. Who says science and religion can't get along? When you watch a movie about the return of Satan, you figure you're in for your very basic Christian biblical lore: God, angels, and Satan. But the Brotherhood of Sleep conspiracy is off the typical rails of possession movies. No doubt, after he puts down this ancient evil, the priest will request a refund for all the robes he's bought and the college tuition for his religious studies, because this conspiracy blows away all his former knowledge of the nature of God. Yet the film also finds an explanation within quantum physics, an anti-God, just as matter has an antimatter particle. It seems a larger commentary, as if we can have faith in science and religion, both able to bring about or curb evil. So now let's get into the not as good things about Prince of Darkness. First, the dialogue and characterization, which takes away 2 points. While there's chemistry between Victor Wong's Professor Birak and Donald Pleasence's The Priest, the other characters don't inspire. They fall into the basic categories of skeptic or non-skeptic, with a few lines separating them. There's a brewing love interest between Brian, who has a talent for card tricks and only growing hair above his lip, and Catherine, an equation cruncher with a mysterious romantic past. But the relationship is underdeveloped. It serves a dramatic purpose by the film's end, but it only gets one good turn before the finale. Damn if I don't love this turn, but it rings a bit hollow. Next, it's Coming to Get Ya, which takes away 2 points. And a heads up, there's a minor spoiler here. The second act is an interlude of stalking and possession. Characters learn more about the mystery, while others fall victim to the homeless army or get turned to the green side. The killing spree has some atmosphere, but lacks the fun of Carpenter's more inventive slashers or a nasty creature feature. But there's some misdirection on who is next, but it could have played with some narrow escapes or inventive deaths. Although I love how the researcher Susan loses her glasses after she's possessed, as if it brought out her badass side. If Satan's coming back, he's not doing it in nerdy fashion. Next up, it's the scientific skepticism, which takes away a point. We all get cognitive bias, and these grad students are a scientific crowd, which may be hard to win over to the supernatural. But frickin' worms are scriggling on the windows. There's an army of the homeless locked in catatonic stare-downs, and an old text ranting about the devil. Still, some characters cross their arms in annoyance and call all these revelations, quote, caca. Their skepticism is necessary. They walk willingly into kill traps, but had some of the characters been more afraid, the scares might have been more effective, translating some of that fear to the audience. So adding it all up, Prince of Darkness scores 10 points. On my scale of let's not watch, should I watch, or go watch this movie, I'm going to give it my go watch rating. John Carpenter's filmmaking talent shines throughout Prince of Darkness. It's a fun film with intriguing ideas about religious conspiracy and quantum physics, rather than the usual old hat prophecies in a dusty book that call for the return of Satan. Carpenter's usual talents come out: a nifty score, creepy practical effects, and atmospheric scares in a condensed setting. And its low gore factor makes it accessible to casual audiences. It would elevate the film into one of his classics if it had stronger characterization and more inventive kills in its second act. Still, I love this film. It's excellent for John Carpenter fans and casual audiences of atmospheric horror films. The legacy of Prince of Darkness. So what's Prince of Darkness's legacy? Well, appreciation for this film continues to grow. It's yet another of John Carpenter's movies that got critically dissed and, over time, bounced back to fan favorite status. It's maybe not widespread praise, but I come across many posts about it on Reddit, for example. Though he's credited as Martin Quatermass, John Carpenter did indeed write this movie. That name comes from the British writer Nigel Kneale, a science fiction writer. Kneale's best-known works were, you guessed it, the Quatermass serials and movies. In those stories, Professor Bernard Quatermass was a scientist who investigated extraterrestrial or paranormal phenomena. So the idea was that Carpenter was paying homage to Kneale and that his film was about intellectual science fiction that meets horror. It's a common theme from what I can read researching this about Kneale's work that myth was misunderstood science. And so Carpenter's suggestion that religion and physics are the opposite views of the same problem are in line here, if that makes sense. Author Nigel Kneale was actually hired to write an early draft of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, but Kneale requested that his name be removed from it once the script was rewritten. The producers added much more gore to the film, which led Kneale to withdraw his name. So Prince of Darkness belongs to the collection of films Carpenter wrote, which includes many of his movies. As he loved to do, Carpenter shot this movie in 2:35:1 anamorphic format. If you don't know, that's the ratio of the frame's width to its height. So another standard widescreen format is 185:1, meaning 1.85 long to every 1 high. And believe me, I don't know these formats that well, just what I read, right? This extra wide format was just Carpenter bringing classy shooting techniques to lower budget films. And he used that format in nearly every movie. Film critic John Kenneth Muir has said that Prince of Darkness is a parable of the AIDS epidemic, which was at its peak during the movie's release. He thinks that because the demonic possession is transmitted through a liquid, it's like a communicable disease. He also notes several homosexual references in the movie, especially the character of Walter Fong, played by Dennis Dunn. This includes the time when Walter has to escape from the closet. Yeah, if you look hard for something, you can find it everywhere. But I don't see this at all. I'm not saying the guy is 100% wrong about his theory because I can't verify this, but I don't think so. If John Carpenter wants you to know something about his movie, he tends to make it more overt. They Live, for example, I mean, how can you miss the metaphor of consumerism when there's a book saying consume on it once you have the glasses on? Still, Carpenter has said many of his films were misunderstood. And yeah, Big Trouble in Little China, many audiences didn't get the joke there about the supposed white hero being the bumbling sidekick. So I won't close the door on this or other theories about Prince of Darkness. A quick spoiler alert for you, which is surprising given this is the film's legacy section, but I'm about to ruin a little piece of the movie again, so don't listen if you don't want to hear it. Okay, so a fun fact for you, Alice Cooper used his concert prop, the impaling device, a broken bicycle in the movie. Yeah, it spoils it to tell you, but he used his impaling device in real life as an impaling device in the movie. Alice Cooper was involved in the movie because the executive producer, Shep Gordon, was his manager. So he had suggested Cooper record a song for the film. You can actually hear the song Prince of Darkness by Cooper when Cooper's character kills Etchinson with the impaling device. It's coming through his headphones. And then Carpenter cast Cooper as the unofficial leader of the homeless zombies. Multiple actors appear in this movie who collaborated with Carpenter before or after. You have Donald Pleasence, who was in Escape from New York and Halloween. There's Dennis Dunn and Victor Wong, both from Big Trouble in Little China. And Peter Jason is in the movie, working with Carpenter for the first time. After this, he seems to show up in everything else. Many artists have sampled that audio from the dream sequences. If you didn't figure it out, it's actually Carpenter's voice in them. Carpenter made this film just on the back of Big Trouble in Little China's failure, and so Carpenter returned to independent movies with this one, though that meant he had to work with a much smaller budget. For the record, Big Trouble in Little China is excellent, and it's just that Carpenter did solid work with or without a budget. According to IMDb trivia, Carpenter has said of this film, quote, "It's one of my most controlled films visually. Every shot I can see. Every shot is basically set to a purpose, where in some films I will let things go. I will let it be more loose, I'll let actors improvise. Every shot in here is specifically designed to communicate something." He credits the budget with forcing him to be more precise. It's also said on IMDb trivia that the idea for the project came from a strange dream. Deborah Hill told Carpenter about one she had, in which a dark figure emerged from a church, and that image filled her with dread. So that sparked Carpenter into creating the story. I would have thought it came from the idea of God and anti-God, so interesting that it started there. And another thing about the score, an interesting quote from Carpenter, he says all his scores are improvised. First, he checks them out on a TV, and then creates the themes right there. But he adds that there are two kinds of scoring. There's the underscore or minimalist idea, and then one he calls Mickey Mousing. He says that in a movie like King Kong, every stop Kong takes is scored with a big bomb sound. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Or every emotion is scored. And that's all Mickey Mousing. He says that type of score is so heavy you can't miss anything. And of all the people, he added, John Williams was the biggest, most famous Mickey Mouser of all. I don't think Carpenter was trying to insult John Williams in that quote, just describe a different style of scoring and how the score works more subtly in his films. And I'd have to say, this score is arguably, I think it's one Carpenter has said in interviews that he is very proud of, and I think it works impressively well. Lastly, a fun fact, if you love those shots at the end of the movie with the mirror portals, that was done with a lot of mercury. And I've seen a commentary on the film on YouTube where Carpenter says they got that mercury by illegally draining it from a crane on set. Mercury is toxic, and I bet that wouldn't fly today. But you never know. Just shows his resourcefulness. Okay, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't seen it yet, I hope you'll check out Prince of Darkness. And if you watched it, what do you think of the movie? Too awful or too awfully good? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using the link in the transcript, or just search for Will Turntail. And if you like this episode, would you take a minute or two of your time to leave me a review wherever you're listening from, if you haven't done that already? A few people have left reviews, and I want to thank you so much for doing that. It makes a massive difference. Or if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. New episodes of this podcast come out on Tuesdays. I'm not sure what next week's episode will be yet. I've got more John Carpenter coming along, and we could do his movie Vampires, but we may take a break from all this Carpenter. So it's either that or John Woo's heart-wrenching and batshit Bullet in the Head. It's one of the most depressing but intriguing movies I've seen in quite some time. So tune in for next week's episode, either on John Carpenter's Vampires or John Woo's Bullet in the Head. The only certainty there is a movie made by a John. This podcast episode is a production copyright of Overegged Media LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. The introduction music, Neon Laser Horizon by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. And the exit music and additional music are also by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, also licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. The names of those tracks are Canon in D for 8-bit synths, 8-bit Dungeon Boss, and Aerosol of My Love. Goodbye for now.